So to begin with, you must make sure the skin is clean and moisturised. And I'm taking shadow shields and cutting in half, and I can use these on my eyes to create shape and to just stop the eyeshadow going further than I want it to go. These are really good to use when you want a really dramatic shape to the eye. I just like to use them because sometimes I just like to pack any product right up to it without worrying about going too far, and it can catch any shadow and fallout on them. I'm taking a base, P. Louise base in number 2, and using a flat oval brush and patting it onto the eyelid, going up to the eyebrow. And this is where what people would describe as cutting the eyebrow, well, under the area, not necessarily all the way around it. And I'm trying to make sure the product is distributed evenly and to a decent level of coverage. Kind of doing papping and sweeping motions. I then use a fluffy brush, this is synthetic, and softly blend out the outer areas. Oh, sneeze there. And then also can kind of pat and press and blend in any other areas too. I then like to go over with a sponge just to ensure it's really pressed in. I'm taking the Huda Beauty Nude Palette. This one's the light one, and as you can see, I'm going in with a pink shade. I like this pink shade, it's nice and soft, neutral for my skin tone. I have quite pink undertone in my skin, so this will be a nice natural crease colour. I'm patting and pressing and slowly blending as I go along, trying to not disturb the base but also trying to press the product in at the same time. I'm using a fluffy brush for this and trying to ensure that it's evenly covered, and then going in with the kind of tan shade, and I'm just going in the outer V area, not as high up as I did with the pink, and then I'm going in with the brown one. It's not too dark, this shade. I'm going for a natural eye, so this is going in the outer V even more so, but with less spread than the other colours. So the pink's gone the highest colour, the tan skin colour's gone a little bit higher than lower than that, and then this brown is going even lower, just to create a U and definition to the eye. I then go back in with the previous colours to just soften the edges and blend it out. This is when you get more of a seamless blend. This is a highlighted colour from MAC. I put it into my own quad. I think it's called Nylon. I'm just using a small brush for that, a small flat brush just to press it in the areas. Now using the primer brush as before, it's got product already on it, I'm just using the excess and pressing it onto my lid a little bit. This is purely so the next colour will catch onto the lid, it's got more of a sticky base. I'm using the nude palette, the original nude palette by Huda, and that pink shimmery colour there. I really like this one, the shimmers on this palette are lovely. Just using a flat eyeshadow brush and pressing it into the eyelid. On the lid, not necessarily into the darker crease at outer areas. Just building them colours up. I do find shimmers need building up. And then taking a thin, more tapered detailed brush that I use for the brown and just going over the edges just to soften. Now using a thin angle brush, I'm picking up a darker brown on there and I'm going along my roots. The roots of the lash line, just pressing and dragging, kind of making a thin eyeliner, a natural eyeliner with this product. Using eyeshadow as an eyeliner is a great alternative than gel liners and liquid liners. If you go wrong, it's easily fixed, and it's usually so sheerly done and you can build it up. Now I'm just going to the soft glam, just going to amp up the shade, so I'm mixing the dark brown and the black together, and I'm taking some of the excess and rubbing it together on the back of my hand, because those shadows are so pigmented. And then going closer to the lash line now, keeping it as close to the lash line as possible. That angle brush is doing all the work. It's nice and thin. So using a normal eyeliner pencil, going into a gel liner, I am then doing the top line of my eyeline. I feel if you don't do that, sometimes you can see the skin of the eye and it just doesn't look as good. And then also sharpening my nude pencil from Urban Decay. I'm going along the bottom of lash line with this. If I was doing this with a client, you should use your little finger, like so. And I find with nude eyeliners, you have to go over them a few times to make sure you get the colour payoff. Now time to remove the eyeshadow shields, which is such a relief. They can be uncomfortable, so if you do them on a client, please be wary of that and please be cautious and sensitive about it. Now I like to blend out the eyeshadow. For this design, I didn't want to keep the harsh line that's there. People like the harsh line, or this is just a way to just blend it away as if it wasn't there. Now using a mascara, I'm going in, building up a few layers of mascara. This was just a Primark one, which is pretty decent, to be fair. Just trying to coat all the lashes at the top, ready for eyelash application. So going in with a stiller, I just wanted to bling up the eyes a little bit, give them a bit more of a foiled wet look. Still natural. There's that colour's called Wonderlust, and it's kind of goldy pinky. So using individual lashes, these are flares that have got 3 or 4 in a row rather than individual. Using the glue on the back of my hand as it starts to set and some tweezers. I like to just drop the eyelash as close to the lash line as possible. Starting from the outer corner and then bringing yourself in, and also alternating between the two eyes. That way you can kind of keep control on how many of you use per eye and where you put them. If you're doing it on a client, it's advised that they look down rather than close because your eyelashes can stick to the bottom. It's from the wet glue. It can still happen this way, but you can prevent it a lot more this way. So I'm just using my fingers and just using my eyes to see what look good and see what I like. For me, I do like a longer outer wing. This size is just all small. I really like the small sizes. These are from Primark. They're just quite natural and you can layer up loads if you wanted, depending on the look. I wish they did it in extra small as well, because for some mothers of the brides and mums, I feel like they could still be a little bit long. If you wanted, you could alternate between going from long to medium to short. The glue does stay white for a bit and it will dry clear. So don't mind that at first. These lashes are not designed to last very long. This glue is not long lasting, but this can be done with more of a long lasting glue. Just make sure you patch test your client first. Remember to bring the eyelash above the lash and down. You can use the end of the tweezers to press in place. And I like to go in and feel the outer edges some more if need be. Sometimes they might not stick straight away, so just don't panic. Use the tweezers, pick them up and move them if need be. Sometimes you may put one down and it might stick to another one and lift them up, and then you may have to do a few over again. That's fine. The best thing is to just not panic. Take your time. So now bring in that eye primer under my eye, just to prime the under area, and then blending it out with the same fluffy brush. Going in with the darkest brown of that palette, which is kind of a medium brown, and the same thin eyeliner brush from I think that's bridal. Really good brush, really good for eyebrows too. So this is a soap product for the brows. It seems to be on trend at the minute. This is not for everyone by all means. It comes with an activator, the brush, and the soap itself. So as you can see, I was just working it through, getting the product going, working through my brows, going different directions with it, up, down, side to side. And then the main object is to be able to push the eyebrows up to create a fluffier, thicker, fuller looking brow. This is not for everyone. If you use this on clients, make sure that it's the kind of look that they would want. It's also good to keep your eyebrows in place. So if someone did have unruly eyebrows, it'd be really good. But it's also good if someone doesn't have very big eyebrows to kind of accentuate and make the eyebrows look thicker and fuller. I've pushed it down and I've created like a fluffy stuck down brow because it's just on trend and I wanted to have a play, but it's not necessarily something that everyone would do. Now, in prep for the airbrush, I would use toner to then go over my skin and remove any excess oil. Yes, I did moisturise previously. That's to keep my skin subtle. And now going into a primer. This is the Milk Primer. It's really good for a long wearing oil-free primer, which is perfect for airbrush. It's quite important you get rid of excess oils on the skin for airbrush. It doesn't go on well on very slidey products. Before airbrush, you need to go in with any concealer. This is the Urban Decay one. This is shade 40NN. And I like to do it under my eye area and my nose, around my nostrils. Especially because with the airbrush it can be quite uncomfortable in those areas. And I just like a fuller coverage. This may be much too much product for some people. It's finding out what you or a person wants to wear. I'm using a fibre brush, this is by MAC, and just pressing in and blending that product in. I want decent coverage. This looks quite natural concealer, that's why I like it, but it's also giving me some coverage. It's not very creasing, it's long wearing, doesn't make me feel old. I do really like this concealer. Just giving it a good blend out in preparation for the airbrush. You can actually skip this step and go straight into the airbrush if you wanted to, but I'm actually adding a little bit more under my eyes just because I felt like I wanted more under there. Again, it's personal preference. Sometimes using the finger can be really good to blend in concealers. So this is the Temptu AirPod in the rose gold. Power button, dial button, and this is the AirPod without the casing on. And the most important thing when it comes to AirPods is you shake them a lot. Shake them good for a good 4 to 5 seconds if you can do, depending on how regularly you use them. Because if they've been sat around for a while, the product can all congeal and settle, so it needs to be reactivated and shook up. There's a little bit at the back that you pull out, and you have to pull it out before every time you use it. And also there's a white dial there that you can pull in and out, and that kind of activates the product into the needle. There's an area that you have to click them together, so make sure they're clicked in safely and doesn't feel loose or anything. Then it's ready to go. Turn it on, the lowest power comes on first, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to try and make sure my area is at least a hand distance away. 1.5 hands to 2 hands is ideal. And the lever, as I don't want to pull all the way down. I only need to pull it halfway down and control it that way. By how much product you want, you can do it as full control, or you could do little bits of control at a time. Or for the body, yeah, you may want to pull it full all the way back. You will slowly start to see the skin looking wet in areas and some of the kind of pigmentation going, and the skin becoming more clear and more flawless really. It's in very thin, light layers. That's the whole point of airbrush.
What?
So using a stencil to hide my hair, because if you was doing a bride, for example, you might need to cover the hair. And I'm doing as many layers as I feel I need. For me, I do like quite a bit of coverage. When I'm happy with the layers or in between, I can just use the AirPod on its own when it's on, just to blow out air. This can help dry the layers in between. They can take quite a while to dry, so it's good to go in thin layers. And that's why you don't want to pull the leather too back too quick. Working in thin layers is best to build up. So using a contour one, remember to pull the thing out and pull on that section there to connect together. Always making sure you've shaken it first for quite a while. So with this contour shade, it's quite a dark shade, this one actually. I think it's a generic contour shade, but I should have used a foundation shade a few shades darker than me. And to just slowly use it where I'm contouring or bronzing. You've just got to use your eye, and what works for the person, where you want to highlight and contour is key. So you probably do need to use some general knowledge on where those areas are and what you want to do. Airbrush products can layer up really quick. If you feel like it's gone too heavy in a certain place, feel like anytime you can get a sponge and dab it away and fix and blend. Ideally you want to be just using all air to the purpose of the airbrush, but you can go in with a sponge and you can fix and you can titivate. For me, I struggle to do airbrush on myself and I prefer to do it on other people. And that's why I like to use the sponge method, because sometimes I disperse the product and then I go in and fix after. But it still gives me the flawless airbrush feel, because the product in the AirPods itself is just amazing and flawless. This is a lighter shade. I'm just going back in to the skin areas, kind of as a highlighter colour, but that's not shimmery or glittery. And then going in with a blusher. You can do a full face with airbrush. The only airbrush products I don't own are the eyebrows and eye shadows. But I do like to go in with a blush and highlighter with a AirPod. It can look really nice even on top of makeup. And I'll be doing a full makeup soon, topped with airbrush, so check out that video as well. And with the pink colour blush, you can always go over the lips too. With airbrush, it can look a bit heavy at first, but after a few minutes, when it's dry and set down, it can kind of not disappear, but look more sheer. At first application can look a bit scary. But just let it dry in between, again using air when and if need be. So this is an empty pod now with a bottle of temptu product. You could buy the bottles and use the empty AirPods easily. So again, giving the product a shake. You have to do this with every air product. Shake again, and then using the empty pod, take off the lid, and this is where you can mix and play with colours if you wanted to. So this is where I'll put the highlighter in. This is such a beautiful highlighter. It's called Pink Champagne. And then that's the back of the AirPod, which you didn't see previously. Brand new, so there's a seal on the front. So with my highlighter, I like to go in with it. So I turned it up quite high. I think I did it on a medium. And just put it in the areas you need it. So this is really fast. I'm not using no brushes. Here, if you make a mistake and go too heavy, feel free to blend down. You can see how quick it is in between the applications, rather than putting your brushes in powders and dusting the powder off, or even having to clean brushes after. So now, going over my eyebrows, I'm using a oh, I forgot what that's called. Is it Benefit? Yeah, Benefit. A Benefit eyebrow mascara. I love how thin the brushes are, and I'm just going over my shape. I'm not trying to create any fake shapes with this. It really was just a natural a design. just kind of bringing some of my hairs to life where I'm very thin on my outer edges. This colour I believe is 3.5, it's kind of a reddy brown. And while this is all going on, the skin is setting some more, ready for face powder later. So now I'm going over with the MAC very thin eyebrow felt pen. This is where I like to imitate hairlines. This is how I like to do a natural brow. Don't like to block it in anymore. That trend's gone. Unless somebody wants it, then I will just do this method instead. Just add gentle hair strokes to whatever suits their shape. I'm trying to use the pen very gently, not pressing down too hard. Trying to go in the direction of what the hairs would naturally grow. And I like this colour. It is darker than the mascara I used, but that's going to just give it some depth to the eyebrow, like the hairs naturally would. I'm not the best at doing my own eyebrows, I must admit. I find it way easier to do somebody else's. And I never really do mine very symmetrical either, unless I take ages on a makeup. But obviously if it's for your client or yourself, you can spend as long as you want to. So using Spice Lip Liner by MAC, I'm just going to outline my lips. I do have lip fillers, so my lips are quite plump. And I've kind of lost the top lip line sometimes, I feel, so I like to bring it back in. I do like a lot of lip liner, so again it depends on your client, but lip liner does make the lipstick last longer. It does frame the lips and it can look really nice with it as a two-toned. I like to just blend the edges of the lip in. So using a colour out of my lip palette, this is a MAC one, Peachy Keen I believe, and then just filling in. I do like to leave the lip line a bit darker, that's just my personal preference. So just titivating myself now and powder in. So I like to use a fluffy brush and go over anywhere I feel that needs powder, so the under eyes, T-zone, under the cheekbones. This will help smooth out the skin that little bit more. I do find airbrush can look beautiful on its own on some people, but on me I feel like I need to powder it, and I do not know why that is. But just some people, I think it's because I have large pores. I feel like the powder, specifically good powders like this Charlotte Tilbury one, can fill in the pores. So now I'm going in with a bronzer shade as well, I believe. I just didn't show it, I thought I'd shown it, sorry. But it's actually a foundation colour that's just darker than mine, and I'm just using it as a foundation, as a bronzer. So it's a powder foundation from Makeup Forever. And then going in with a bit of blush just to go over. So this is personal preference, this is layering. I like to layer a lot with makeups and for longer lasting. But the whole point of airbrush is sometimes you do not need to do this. It depends on the finish of the makeup that you want and how natural you want to go. Not to say that if you didn't powder it wouldn't last long, because it would. I just feel it lasts even longer by adding a few layers of powder. So touching up any mascara, and then I'm going back in to the highlighter. Just because I've matted the skin down with a powder, I'm bringing that highlighter really back in because I love my highlighter. Again, just go in with personal preference of your client. You could even use this all over the body, the shoulders, the décolletage, the chest, arms, and that's it. And to finish with some setting spray. This is not filtered on here, this is the makeup making me look a lot more flawless. And it really does work on people. When it, the phrase airbrushed, it really can look airbrushed. So I hope you liked this one. Hope it was useful in some ways. Please leave any questions If you have any, I'd love to get back to you, or any requests. Thank you.